Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess. In the last couple of weeks, we've been integrating ChatGPT with Power Automate, and then we've actually been doing it with SharePoint a lot because that's where I'm comfortable, that's where I started off at. So today, I wanted to do image tagging with ChatGPT. And when I say image tagging, there's a few different ways that we can do image tagging. Like, it doesn't just have to be a column that we fill out with certain metadata. We can also provide a description. We can also read text that are on the image. So I wanted to go over how to do that with ChatGPT, and let's create an HTTP request together here today. Let's get into it. Okay, so I have a SharePoint library here, and we have some images. Now, each of these images is a poster for some type of movie. And I want to tag them with metadata and also get a description. So imagine you have some sort of function in your business and you want to be able to tag images to be able to search on. That's where the power is. That's where this power really comes in, is being able to search on your metadata in your document library. Now, this doesn't have to be just images. You know, this could be other things that you could tag. You could do documents. But today we're going to do images. The one thing that every SharePoint developer really loves is metadata. And they'd prefer you not to make folders inside folders, inside folders, inside folders, because you can search upon metadata. You can create group bys. And that's the power of metadata, is so that you can search in it in this library. Now, you cannot search right away once you upload a document. Search normally takes about 24 hours. It goes through what's called a crawl. So search has to, map out and index everything that's in your SharePoint. And that used to take about 24 hours to do. I'm not sure what it takes now in Microsoft 365, but that's how it works. Okay, so I generated my images through what's called Leonardo.AI. Now, Leonardo's not paying me anyway, but I do have Leonardo.AI, and I generated some images using this AI image model. The reason I like doing it is because it's quick, easy, and fast. There's other ways to generate images. Of course, you have Microsoft Designer. You have what we showed yesterday was the SharePoint, where we use ChatGPT. And there's also Stable Diffusion. And then I'm sure there's so many more image models out there. But right now, I like to just go to Leonardo.AI and generate images here. So that's how I generated my images. And we have a SharePoint library. Now we want to create a flow that's going to go through our list. And we're going to populate image description, image type, total tokens, and then I think I'll try and do a calculated field on cost. We'll try and calculate the total tokens times the cost of our GPT, and then calculate the exact cost for each image. Now, as with almost everything Microsoft, there's many ways to do this, but today we're going to do ChatGPT, but I just want to mention Microsoft Syntex. And the reason I currently am not using Microsoft Syntex is right here is for government community cloud, GCC organizations, pay-as-you-go licensing is not available yet. So that's the reason why I'm going out to ChatGPT. So when Microsoft asks me why am I doing ChatGPT instead of Microsoft Syntex, the reason is it's not available yet for the pricing model that I would like to use. And obviously with government, we probably want to have a pay-as-you-go license model. So you can look into here some more. So if we go back, with Microsoft Syntex, you can do a pay-as-you-go model, and you can tag images. So there is a column right here that automatically tag images with detected objects. I haven't played with this yet. I would love to. But you can see you could do image tagging here. With all things Microsoft, you can stay in the Microsoft world if we do Microsoft Syntex, and we can create a video on that later. But for today, let's do ChatGPT. Okay, so we're in Microsoft Power Automate. I'm going to create a flow, and it's going to be for a selected file in SharePoint. Now, your trigger can be however you want it to be, however you want to ingest your images, but I'm going to do for selected file in SharePoint. And the flow name will be image tagging. All right, so for the selected file, let me make sure I'm zoomed in really good. Let's see here. There we go. For selected file, we're going to put in some parameters. So I'm going to do enter custom value. I'm going to paste it in, image tagging. and then can now find my images library. So I created a library called my images, and that's where my images are stored. Okay, so now that we said for the selected file, we actually don't have the file content. So if we were to come in here and we were to, let's say, write a mail, let's just say a mail, and we were going to create a mail, and I don't have a connection, maybe this was a bad idea, but here we go. We don't have the file content. Like we have file name, ID, email, username, but we need the file content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say get file content. Get file content, and I'm going to do it using path. That's just how I prefer to do it. There's other ways to get the file content. Maybe if you don't want to do the get path. And we're going to do image tagging. I'm going to choose my file this time. So my images, I'm going to choose the file so you can see the name here. But in the file path, I'm going to delete here. I'm going to say insert dynamic content. I'm going to say file name. Now notice that Microsoft actually doesn't put that slash back in there. So you need to put that backslash right back in there. So this is my SharePoint website. This is my document library with a slash and then the file name. So next, whenever, and how to describe this, and I'm not a 1000% expert, but whenever we ingest images through Power Automate, normally you need to convert them to a base 64 format. And what a base 64 format is it's taking an image and it's turning it into a string of characters. So your image becomes letters, numbers, and symbols into a string of characters. So I'm going to do a compose action. And this compose action is going to, let's go back to the FX, is going to be a base 64 format. And what is going to be turned into a base 64 format is our file content. So we just put base 64 in there and we clicked file content and we're going to click add. I'm just going to save for now. Okay, now we're going to do an HTTP call. So before I was creating a custom connector and we were making custom connectors with ChatGPT. This time I'm going to do it a different way and I'm going to do an HTTP call. So someone asked, you know, should you do it this way or should you do it that way? I'm just going to do it the other way this time. So we're going to do an HTTP call and let's check out ChatGPT about how we're supposed to write this call. So let's look at the ChatGPT API documentation. So right here it says, let's see, images are made available to models in two ways. By passing a link, so let's say you have a link somewhere in a public way, right? It can't be private in a private website on SharePoint. It needs to be in a public way. You can pass the image. Or by passing the base 64 encoded image directly in the request. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take Power Automate. We're going to have a base 64 image, and we're going to send it to ChatGPT, and we're going to have it send us something back. So we're going to use this right here, what's in the image. Now notice this is in Python. I don't know if we can change it. There we go. This is what we really like, is this CURL or curl. I don't know how people actually say that. You know, I know people get moody if you call something SQL or SQL. I don't know. Curl, CURL. So this is what we want to look at, and we can see that our HTTP request is right here. So this is the URL we want to use. So here's the URL. So we're going to go to chat completion. So this is very similar to getting the text before. Now the method is going to be a post method. Next, we're going to do our headers. So our headers are going to be content type. So this is the same as before, content type, application, JSON. Now this time, we're going to put in our authorization. And so in the authorization, this is where we're going to put in our key that we have. And if we look at, back to ChatGPT again, you notice that it says bearer, and then your open API key. That's what we're going to do. So notice here's content type, application JSON. So we did that in the header. And notice the H. I didn't go over this. So that's the H, the header. Authorization, bearer, and a space in your key. So I'm going to copy bearer. And I'm going to put that in. Now we need our key. I'm going to create a specific one for today, and then I'm going to delete it so no one can use my key, but we can see how that's done. So let's go to ChatGPT. I'm going to go to my dashboard. I'm going to go to my, let's see, API keys, and I'm going to generate a new secret key today, and it's going to be for my images, YouTube today, and we're just going to put in a default project because I'm going to delete it later. So you only get one chance to copy your key, else you got to recreate it. So make sure that either you keep your key in a safe place or you have to recreate it. So we have our key. Let's go back to Power Automate. All right, so Power Automate. I'm going to paste in my key. Yes, you can see my key. I'm going to delete it. No worries. All right, so you can see my key here. Now we have the body, the request content. This is what we're going to get from ChatGPT again. So let's see here. Here's our documentation again for our curl, our CURL. I'm going to take the brackets right here in between all the brackets. I'm going to take all of this, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to change some of this to a base 64 format. Let's see if they show that. Maybe right here. Oh, it does. It shows a little bit how you can do the base 64 format. Oh, this is for multiple images. So you can kind of go in here and look through all the documentation. Multiple images, you have low quality, high fidelity imaging understanding. So we're going to kind of make this work for our Power Automate. All right, so the body request. I'm going to put in exactly everything that was in there before. We have what's in the image. So we can just keep it nice and simple for now and say what's in the image. Right here in the URL, we are going to change this to a format that we can read for base 64. And this is based on the documentation. I'm just going to pull this out. Data image / JPEG, because we're using a JPEG. And this is a base 64 format, comma. And then this is where we're going to put our compose outputs in. So our compose outputs goes in. And we have everything we need now in the HTTP request. Now, what do we need to do? We need to parse it. So after every HTTP request, it sends you back most likely a JSON. Sometimes you may get XML, but for this use case, we're going to get JSON. So we're going to parse JSON. I believe if you used Grok, which is the X model, you may get XML back. I don't know all the details, but I just know there's ways that you get XML back instead. So we have our body. Now our schema, maybe we want to, I've shown different ways of doing this. I'm going to delete this for now. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to run it one time. Let's just see if it works to begin with. So we'll go with the action film. If we come to automate, our new image tagging Power Automate should be right here. We're going to run it. Continue, run the flow. I probably should have hit test just so it runs a little bit faster, but we'll watch it. It looks like it failed, so something I did was wrong. The JSON is not well formed. So let's double check and check that out. So I'm taking a guess here, and I'm guessing maybe the problem is the max tokens was 300. Let's increase that to 2,000. Oh, application JSON header value is not well formed. Let's double check that again. Oh, how did that happen? Let's try that again. Maybe I mistyped application JSON. So let me fix that in there. We'll save. This time I know it's going to work. I didn't pay attention to my errors, but I'm not going to delete this from the video. I feel like errors are a good thing in videos. If everyone shows you everything perfect, then I just don't agree with that kind of learning. So we're running through again. We actually got it to work this time. The JSON was well formed. You can see the image appears to be a poster for a movie. And muscular man in black. That's really neat how it pulls in all that. So we're going to take the body here and we're going to copy it. So make sure to copy the body. You can see it reached out to ChatGPT-4o. There's some other things that it pulls in here. Like you can see the usage, the prompt tokens, total tokens, chat completions. So now I'm going to do right here, now I'm going to parse that JSON. So we're going to parse the JSON. And for the schema, I'm going to paste in what I just copied. So that's with all this information. And so this is what parsing the JSON is doing. It's just pulling in these columns so that we can read them, the role, the content, the usage, etc. So let's pull all that in. We have our JSON. It's going to come from this body. Okay, so we've parsed the JSON. The next thing I want to do is I want to pull out the messages and I guess the total tokens. And I showed this last week. The reason that we don't want to just kind of, put the parse JSON pieces in there is it'll put it in a for loop, and I really don't like doing that. Now, maybe if you had multiple images, you could find a reason to put it in that for each loop. But today I'm just going to do another compose. And we'll say this one is compose messages or message. So this is the compose message, and in here I'm going to paste in the HTTP request. So that's right here, HTTP. The choices, the first message content. So that's all that is. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Oh, I lost it. Let's try again. FX. So it's the HTTP, the choices, the message, and the content. So if we looked in there, you could find that. So we find the HTTP, then we're going in the choices right here. Then we're going into the message and the content. So that's how you build that out in the compose statement. Now the next one I want to compose, I want the total tokens. So I'm going to do another compose action. And in this one, we can just pull in, let's see here, the parse JSON. We can just pull in the total tokens. All right, so we have the body of the total tokens. So it doesn't loop through because it's the total cost. So this one will be compose total tokens. And now we're going to write this back to SharePoint. So now we're going to update our properties. So file update, file. So in SharePoint, we're going to update our file properties. And we're going to go to our SharePoint site and our SharePoint list. And the unique ID is the one at the very beginning where we did our manual selected by. And this, we're going to fill in the image description, which is our compose message. All right, so we're not going to do image type in there yet, but we will do total tokens. We can put that in there. So total tokens comes from here, that output. And cost we won't do yet. Let's see, image description, okay. I'm going to click save. And now let's run this on a new image. Or actually, we'll run it on the same one. So we'll just hit test, automatic, recent with our last successful one. We'll test. And now it's going to look at that image and describe it back to us, which to me is pretty neat. I enjoy doing this. It's really neat to see ChatGPT use vision to find things. So let's see. It looks like the length is too short, so we're going to increase our column here. Our image description is going to be a multi-line text field. Okay. Okay, so this time I'm going to rerun the flow entirely instead of just doing a retry. We'll do our image tagging, run the flow. Hopefully this time it realizes that the image description field is a multi-line text. We can check on Power Automate to see it is running 9 seconds ago. If we refresh, it did fill out the image description, and you can see that it filled it in there. The text at the bottom says Darby, so it even pulled in the text. Let's check that out. So let's see files. If we look at the image, it does say Darby. That's kind of funny. So that was our image that we generated. It does say that it gives it an image description. But now what I want to do, let's take a look at that again. So if we look at the list files, we can see the total token cost was $12.04. So now what I want to do, instead of just doing description, I want to do the image type also. So let's go back to edit. And we could do another HTTP request, but let's just redo this one because I really want to focus on the image tagging part. So not what's in this image. I'm going to say, and this is where prompt engineering comes in hand. Look at the image and respond with one word. Put the image in a category of, let's use brackets instead of, and maybe I'll zoom in some more. Put in categories of action, sci-fi, comedy, or I believe the other one is Pixar. So we wanted to respond with one word only. So this time, now that it's going to respond with one word only, we're going to say the file properties. Instead of the image description, we're going to say the image type. Let's see, image type here is our new compose message. And we'll have a total tokens here. I'm going to click save. We're going to go back to, so this is demo number 2. We're going to go back to our SharePoint list here. Let's run it for comedy image tagging. Okay, so image tagging, here we go, run flow. Let's go ahead and run it again for sci-fi. Run flow. So now we're running the flow twice. We'll refresh. You notice it put the comedy in comedy, monkeys in space. It put it in sci-fi. So literally ChatGPT is like, it's looking at the image and it's judging it on where it should be. Now notice right here, you have image tags. So you could also put it in here. So you could put the tag in the image tag column for value number 1. So there is a new image. I'm pretty sure this is very, very new, maybe within the past year or two. There's actually an image tags column that's hidden on the back end of Power Automate. You can also put your output there. So it tags the image on the back end of that image and tags it in the metadata. And I'm sure you could have multiple ones if you wanted to tag multiple different times. But now that we've looked at those images, one thing I wanted to do was do the cost. And I wonder, can we convert this? I don't think we can convert a single line text to a calculated field. Let's see, cost. We can't make it a calculated field, but let's do a calculated field. So create column. We'll say calculate cost. Now we could do this on the Power Automate side if we wanted that to happen, but we can also do it on the SharePoint side. So I'm going to do a calculated field, and it's going to be the total tokens. And I'm not sure if this will work or not, if it's a single line text instead of a number field. So we have our total tokens divided by, I believe it's 1 million, 1, 2, 3, divided by 1 million. And then after we have that, we multiply that by 5, because it's actually $5 per 1 million tokens. So I think this is the correct way to calculate it. And that is 6/10 of a penny for that one image. I believe that's the correct way to do it. So 2 images at about 1,000 tokens is 1 penny. That's what I think the correct calculation is. We can actually even increase this to 4 decimal places if we want to. So if we go to the calculate cost, we can say, okay, actually this is 4 decimal places. I believe that's the correct way to calculate it. If not, I'm just going to leave that here for now. I mean, you can do the math if you really want to, but I believe that's the cost actually is 0.0057 for each image almost. And I haven't done it for that image, so it's at 0 right now. Okay. So now that we know that cost, it's kind of the same thing as pay-as-you-go for SharePoint. I don't know the exact cost there. You can research Syntex if you want. I wanted to do one more thing, and I wanted to show how ChatGPT can actually translate documents. So I'm going to go somewhere, maybe Google, and I'm going to find a cursive written document. I believe I have the rights to use it. It does say public policy research. So I believe if we go in here, we could probably, read this image. And here's, maybe I'll do this one actually. Maybe I'll take this image. So let's take this document, and I'm just going to take a snip of it. I'm going to take a screenshot of it. We have our cursive document now, and we can see, okay, the importance of reading cursive. But now let's use Power Automate to read that cursive for us. So now let's go to our HTTP request, and instead of responding with one word, look at the image. Read the cursive and transcribe the entire document. Be precise. Now, there's better ways to prompt engineer, I'm sure, but I'm just coming up with this as fast as possible. So we have our outputs, we have etc. I'm going to put this not in the type. I want this to be in the description. So the message is going to go in the description now. So let's remove the data tagging in there. So let's see these outputs. Let's remove that. So remove the data tagging in there also. So let's run it again on the cursive document. Automate, image tagging. This is our automate. It's going to read the cursive, run the flow, and then it's going to transcribe the document from cursive and put it into SharePoint. So we'll let it run. It looks like 13 seconds ago it was successful. Refresh. Sure, here's a transcription of the cursive text document. So if I click on the three dots here and I click more properties, we can get a good view of it. So it's now transcribed that cursive. Now we did limit it to a certain amount of characters that it responded to, but here's the transcription of the cursive text. Chapter 37, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In the year 1884, an act concerning a water supply. So let's pull up that image. See if we can have two different. So we have our document here in cursive. Difficult for us to read sometimes, but we can see an act concerning the water supply for the fire district of the town of Dalton. By the Senate, Section 1, the fire district, etc., etc., etc. So we can actually translate documents now through ChatGPT Vision also. Very neat stuff. Imagine this is in a Power Automate flow that looped through all of your documents. Really cool stuff. I love this idea. On top of this, this doesn't have to be in SharePoint. Now that we're in the Power Automate world, we can go to Facebook. We can go to Twitter. We can go whatever connection we want to go to. We can write our response to there. We can write it to Teams. So this is where I'm giving you ideas. I would love to see what you come up with. And if you want to share something that you have ideas for, that's the point of this video, is to give you ideas. So we did an image description. We tagged images. And then we transcribed document images also from cursive to a legible English. Now, the last thing we could do is really, really crazy. I don't know if I could double check this, but maybe you could. Maybe someone who knows multiple languages. I know other languages, but I don't think ChatGPT is able to understand the languages that I know. I know a little bit of Chinese and a little bit of Japanese. So imagine, and I know a little bit of Spanish too. So we can then translate it to Spanish. Let's try this out now. So now that we've transcribed it and we've pulled it out of cursive, now let's put it in Spanish. And let's run it one more time. Now I know these AI models have, they do sometimes hallucinate and they can sometimes be incorrect. But still, AI models right now in 2024, they do about 80-90% of the work. Then you have a human who is an expert at the subject matter, so maybe a Spanish speaking person who is an expert can then double check the document and see here that it wrote the first part in English and then it also translated into Spanish. And that extra Spanish translation only costed 2/10 of a penny for the extra translation into Spanish. So I hope this is giving you ideas. This is really cool stuff. I'm loving this AI. My name is Andrew Hess. If you want to see some more, we're going to go into Syntex later on. We're going to go into Azure. We're going to do all the Microsoft stuff. But right now, I believe ChatGPT-4o and this vision stuff is the hot stuff. Maybe next week we'll do audio and we'll translate maybe some things from audio and transcribe them and switch their languages. And I've never done in ChatGPT where it creates an audio file back for me and speaks for me. So maybe that's something also we can do. Thank you all. My name is Andrew Hess. I'll see you next week.